Hi there, it's Del Singh here, BariatricMan, and I wanted to just sort of talk a little bit about sort of food, because I don't do often, when I talk to people about having had a gastrectomy, gastric sleeve, they sort of ask me, well, you know, okay, if you've got a really small stomach, what can you eat? What don't you eat? And, you know, so just clear up a few myths and, there. You know, is it special food I have to eat? The answer is no, it isn't. This is now 16 months on. So I can eat the same food as most people eat, just in very much reduced quantities compared to what a lot of people will eat. However, there are some concessions one has to make once you've had the surgery. So if I kind of go back a bit to what you need to do in order to prepare for surgery, because there's some major challenges there, so it's not just plain sailing. And then fast forward to the surgery, and then after that and the diet, so concentrating a little more on the food. Hopefully that might help. And I want to do this in layman's terms, because I know when you go on the internet and you read this stuff, it kind of like gets a bit scary. You think, oh, hang on, what are they talking about? So just in layman's terms, you know, once you consider this surgery and you need to get ready for it, your medical providers, doctors will tell you that before the surgery, at least 2 weeks before the surgery, you'll need to go on a very strict diet, which is something called a liver shrinking diet. And this is a diet that's very high in protein but very low in fat. And it actually is very boring as a diet. It's probably the most boring and the hardest thing I think I've ever done. And if you kind of get through that, then everything gets easier after it. Effectively, you are only allowed for a period of 2 weeks to have what is 3 pints of skimmed milk. That's the kind of red top milk here in the UK, which is kind of like quite thin, watery milk. So 3 pints of that, and 2 sugar-free, fat-free yogurts. So the kind of Muller light type yogurts. So any flavours, but you know, 2 of those and 3 pints of milk, and that's it in a day. Nothing else. Yeah. You can have a bit more water if you want and so on, but you can't have anything else. So no sugary squashes, nothing, no fizzy drinks. I did ask whether I could actually have even egg whites, because it got so boring after a week, but they said, nope, you can't. And the reason for this is not just to punish you, but to actually do good, which is to actually shrink the liver, because the liver is a massive store of fat. People have fatty liver disease. Yeah, lots of fat is stored in the liver, and the worst thing is the liver is actually lays directly over the stomach. So when they're going to operate on you, there is a danger of actually nicking or cutting the stomach of the liver, damaging the liver during that procedure. So the idea is by shrinking the liver down, then there's less chance of any damage to it. So by going into this kind of really, you know, in almost what is a sort of zero fat diet, which is just protein diet, and it's not something you can do beyond the 2 weeks, and it's not something I'd advise anybody to do if they think they're going to lose weight, because it's actually taking the weight off the liver, not off your backside and everywhere else. But it's doing that. So what it does is it actually gets the fat burning in the liver, and it reduces that liver. So, and all I can tell you is during those 2 weeks, I lost 1.5 stone. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of weight kind of like came off, you know, nearly 21 pounds in weight just came off within a 2 week period. But the nice thing is the doctors knew I'd done the diet, and they knew that it shrunk the liver and actually made the surgery a lot easier. So, you know, that's something you need to be prepped for. And again, your health provider, doctors will tell you all about that. Once you've actually got into sort of theatre, you've had your surgery and stuff, then you'll find that there's the recovery phase. And during the recovery phase, I mean, obviously you're going to be quite sore down here, the stomach, and your appetite is going to be quite decreased and diminished. You'll be having a few sips of liquid and fluid and stuff post-surgery, and within a day or so, though, you know, they'll start to give you things like sort of soups, and you may find that you can have a few spoons of it. You know, again, it's just not going to be something you can have a massive amount. A, because the appetite isn't there, and B, swallowing is a bit tough, and you find that it takes a little time. So, you know, fast forwarding, you'll find that you'll be spending a week or 2 on these really, really sort of watery type soups. That at some point they'll start to get thicker, and you'll find that they're slightly more nutritious. I say I had a little chest infection, so my taste buds were shot, so I found it was very, very difficult to actually taste what I was eating at the time. So not only could I eat very little, but I couldn't taste it, which was not very nice. But that's just me having a chest infection. And you know, once that cleared up, I started tasting things. And you kind of move from the kind of liquidy, watery to sort of something a little more solid, or what they call sort of soft and chewy type foods, or You know, you might find you'll evolve to things like a bit of mashed potato, a bit of carrot mashed into it, some gravy, something along those lines. Again, or thicker, slightly thicker soups, you know, there's some more creamier soups. And you'll find that you'll be eating those, you'll have maybe, you know, the quantities you have will go up from sort of the 5 or 6 spoons to kind of like 7 or 8 spoons or 9 spoons. Still not a lot, but again, this is all part and parcel of it. But during all of this, I mean, it sounds horrible. It makes people be thinking, hang on a second, I'm going to be absolutely starving on 7 or 8 spoons of food. The answer is you won't be, because your stomach's going to be about this big, and with 7 spoons in it, it's going to be full. It really will be full, trust me, and you'll be thinking, oh, I can't eat any more than that. The worst part is people will give you a bowl of soup about this big, and you'll eat about that much of it, and the whole rest will go to waste. One thing I became very conscious of is when I was going anywhere these days, you know, talking to people or even family, I'd say, listen, please, just bring it here, let me put in what I want to. I just don't want to waste it. And so, you know, it's very small portions, very small quantities. And as you move forward, you'll actually evolve to, you know, what they call sort of more sort of, you know, soft and crunchy food. So you might find that there's the, you know, the odd little bit of meat that's been cut up and put in there as well. But it's, you know, again, you'll have to chew it nicely and well, and it will slow the process down. But again, it's all stuff we should be doing anyway. Yeah, so chewing your food, not wolfing it down, is stuff we should be doing, but we just don't do it, and we get used to the shovel method. With you know, post you know, the surgery, you'll find you will chew, swallow, and when you swallow, you will find you can almost feel it going down here, and you'll find it's just a slow process, because when your stomach's quite large, it just keeps washing down, and that's it. You'll get used to things like not being able to eat and drink at the same time, because the trouble is, if you were to eat your food and drink at the same time, it will literally wash the food straight down and straight through without you actually being able to really taste it, and without the food being absorbed properly. So I found it really, I thought it was going to be difficult, but it actually wasn't. It wasn't that difficult to actually do one or the other. So I'd have a, you know, a cup of tea, cup of coffee, yeah, wait a bit, and then I'd have a piece of toast or something later on. That's now, although I must admit, I found eating bread was very difficult after I had the surgery. Certain things that were very starchy and stodgy were very difficult to eat. So I purposely wasn't eating a lot of bread, and in fact that didn't do me harm, not having carbs. I found, you know, a little bit of rice put into sort of either a sauce or a curry or into a soup was quite nice. I also found things like crackers and flatbreads are really good. So, you know, a little bit of that spreadable cheese on a flatbread, having some of that as a crispy cracker was terrific. But over time, things have changed, and I'm now eating pretty much anything that I was eating before the surgery. And this is sort of, you know, I could probably do that after about 12 months. And now I'm 16 months down the line, I'm pretty much eating everything I can, just not in quantities. Yeah, I can't go and have a burger. I can't eat a full plate of fish and chips. Yeah, I must admit, I had some chips the other day, or fries, as you might call them in the States, and I probably had about 5 or 6 or 7 of these, and I found they're still quite heavy in terms of going down. So I was sort of, you know, not really, I'm not missing them. I'm finding that there's lots of other stuff I tend to eat. You know, I've also started to, you know, without sounding like a new age traveller or something, I find that I eat more in terms of lentil soups and stuff like that. Vegetables taste brilliant all of a sudden, but they never did before. You know, I had some black eyed peas, some red beans, whatever, pulses in a curry. It's amazing. You know, why wasn't I eating this stuff beforehand? You know, I guess I was too busy looking at the lazy option, which is go out and buy a burger, buy a, you know, fried chicken, eat that, and that's it. So all of those things. Just very quickly, a word for people that are drinkers, alcohol drinkers. I must admit, I was never a big drinker. I wouldn't mind the odd sort of, I never could do beer, just didn't like beer, you know, whatever the reason for that was. Did like my wine, but these days I find that my taste buds have changed slightly. I'm not massive on wine. I just on Christmas past, I had a couple of small nips of sherry, and that was enough for me. I wasn't really worried about it. So if you are a big drinker and your life is very social and you involves you only sitting around with your mates having lots and lots of alcohol and stuff, bear that in mind, because once you've had the surgery, you will find it's going to be harder to drink, especially if you drink, you know, drinking things like beers and fizzy drinks gone, because basically if you've got a small stomach, putting a lot of fizz and gas into it, it's just going to bloat you, and you will actually feel sick. I have spoken to a couple of people who had this surgery, and they do drink, and they did tell me that they kind of like went out and did their usual thing, and they were pressured by their peer group to drink, and then they found that once they'd drunk, they felt really nauseous, and they literally had to throw up. In all the 16 months since the surgery, I've never actually felt sick. There's one occasion where I think I did actually travel somewhere on business, starving when I got to the other end, and the only thing the hotel had was kind of like a club sandwich. I ordered that, and I think I maybe took 2 bites of it, and it just stayed